careful of those island boys. Little girl, use your head. They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to It's Layered.
We're in a long-distance friendship that started over 20 years ago when we were in high school.
We'll be talking about all things life, love, family, anything and everything else under the sun.
Delve deeper with us because in life, you know, Jine, my layers.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hey guys, we have something extra special for you. It would be incomplete to talk about the Zimbabwean music scene without a mention of our special guest, Afro-fusion star Gemma Griffiths. She's a household name in her home country, our home country of Zimbabwe. She's won 4 ZIMA awards, Zimbabwe Music Awards. She also counts another 2 awards from the Southern African country's top radio stations, from Star FM, a string of nominations from Mama's, MTV's Music Awards in Africa, and Afrimma Awards. In short, this young lady who grew up in Harare, Zimbabwe's vibrant capital, has been putting in the work. She works hard, y'all.
Yeah, she definitely has been doing that with the beautiful release of her album, A Girl From Harare, earlier this year, and the live version of the said album recorded at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, which is just, we need to get into that. Yeah. There's so much to be proud of with this amazing creative. Welcome to It's Layered podcast, Gemma. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here, you guys.
Well, you're a singer-songwriter. A Girl From Harare is where you hail from as per your album. What does it mean to be a girl from Harare to you?
To be honest, I think, naming that EP, A Girl From Harare, no matter where I went when I was writing the EP, because I was traveling at the time, I was traveling across Africa. No matter where I went, it was always one of the first things that I would introduce myself as is where I was from, and I could feel such a pull to home, no matter how far away I was. And I think I sort of came to the realization that no matter in or out, I'm always a girl from Harare.
That's so dope, and it's so great to feel represented. You know, when you see that as girls from Harare ourselves, like you just feel like, yeah, that's where we're from. It's such a proud moment. And we thought we'd ask you a few rapid fire questions, just some of your favorite things from Harare. So I'll just ask, and you can say the first thing that comes to your mind. Where's your favorite place to eat in Harare?
I would say Gavas. And yeah, I'd say Gavas.
Nice. And place to dance if you want to get down.
Oof. Jamtree.
Super. And what's your favorite hangout spot? Like if you're chilling, but like maybe not party mood, place to meet up with your friends.
Friends Cafe in the daytime and Pariah State, Belgravia at night.
Yeah, that's true. I love Friends Cafe. It's right by my parents' house. Love it. What's your favorite coffee spot? If it's not Friends Cafe.
Still Friends Cafe or my house, to be honest. I make a mean coffee.
Oh, nice. Super. That's really cool. And the last one, what's your favorite thing about Harare? If you can even answer that question.
To be honest, the people and the weather. Those are my 2.
Oh yeah.
Oof, yes, the weather. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Good weather.
You've collaborated a lot with different artists, which is something we've really been enjoying as we've been seeing you release your music, and not just Zimbabwean as well, but African as a whole, which we really do celebrate. From Winky D, Amara Brown to Sauti Soul, to name just a few. What do you enjoy the most about your collaborations?
To be honest, I think music is such a personal thing, and it's such a thing of connecting with someone in a very vulnerable and honest way, where you're saying, this is who I am, this is what I can give, and often writing about something quite vulnerable as well. And so I really love that aspect of human connection, that you get to learn someone and connect with someone in a very, very different way. There's no small talk. It's like, here I am, completely bare and completely vulnerable, and you're giving me the same. It's a beautiful exchange.
Yeah.
that's
Have you had
amazing.
any issues with your collaborations, like in terms of someone you've thought I would love to collaborate with, but you haven't yet, or?
In terms of the people I have collaborated with, I think it's always been, you know, I've really connected with them personally as well. And I'm quite careful about who I collaborate with. It's got to be someone that I respect and that I like as a person as well as a musician. So in terms of that, I've never had an issue. I've been so lucky and really made some beautiful friends through it. I definitely have a list of people I still want to collaborate with. But I think, you know, as I grow and with time, I really do believe that that'll happen.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I know one of our favorite collabs, I mean, you've done many that we really enjoyed, was Premiere with Hilsey on his Chisikana EP. That was really, it was so heartfelt, like what you're talking about, the vulnerability element of it. And that was really, really dope.
Oh, thanks.
You've also collaborated with Zimbabwean designers from Rungano Rwedu and one of our personal favorite, House of Stone, Danai Madondo. She actually did a fit for me for my Rora earlier this year. And I just wanted to ask you, like, what that process of collaboration is like and why it's so important, not just on the musical side of collaboration, but like other creatives in the space and how that's been for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, art is a very holistic thing. It's definitely not just, even if you are a musician, it's not just the music. People are also connecting with who you are as a person. So everything from what you look like, what you wear, how you speak, where you go, who you're friends with, all of these things people are really interested in, because I think because music is something that, you know, you connect with so deeply. People want to know the person behind it, you know. I know often I've heard of people, you know, meeting their star and maybe being disappointed, or, you know, you get this heartbreak because you build someone up so much. And so, you know, the way we dress and the way we look is something that is, you know, also an expression and a part of ourselves. And especially working with Danai and House of Stone, it's been something that's been going on for a really long time. The first music video that I ever shot, the first big music video with Amara Brown, all the girls were in House of Stone, and it was such a big moment. And ever since then, I've never been able to detach from that brand in my heart, because I just love what she does. I love the way she creates and how beautiful and goddess like you feel in those clothes. So I wore House of Stone a couple of times at launches and earlier this year in a big project that I can't announce, but it's coming out soon, in my gallery shoots, when we shot the live album. It just feels like home, you know, and something I'm very, very proud to work with Danai on.
It's really beautiful. I absolutely love that, and I absolutely love the collaboration with Zimbabwean artists and designers, because it's like, if we don't support each other, then who will? And it's telling a holistic story, as you said. Like, it's like, this is my music and this is also parts of me. So yeah, it's really dope.
And not only that, it's also putting the name out there. So because people will be like, oh, what's House of Stone? And then all of a sudden it's like, whereas I think a lot of times before we've just depended on the West or like the East to look for what we're going to wear. But it's nice to see stuff coming from our own backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you know, we come from a society which has been very polarized, given our history, not a lot of integration seemingly between the races, let alone embracing Zimbabwean languages. What made you decide to embrace it?
You know, I think you learn Shona at school, but it wasn't really where I connected with the language. I connected with the language through my band, through my friends. I've been playing with my band since I was about 17, and it was 4 boys and me, and we'd always hang out. And obviously they'd naturally switch to Shona, and I was like, these dudes are laughing. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to one, know what the heck they were saying, and two, I just felt like, you know, it felt so natural for them to speak in Shona that instead of me expecting, you know, them to speak in English for my benefit, that I should know the language of the country that I grew up in, you know. And so I took what was quite a basic understanding of Shona through school and really put some time into it. And it was honestly, it was a no-brainer. You know, I grew up in quite a multicultural home with quite a few foster siblings and adopted siblings as well. And yeah, there were always people coming in and out of the house, and it just really was such a natural environment. The other thing that really got me was the music I was listening to, because I was a big Zim dancehall fan, you know, it was all in Shona. And so it felt almost like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I love that when I saw in your documentary as well, because you did speak on that and a bit of the like a white privilege that comes with, you know, like not learning languages or learning languages. So I love that you acknowledge that and that you did embrace it and see past it. You know, you didn't use it as a stumbling block. You actually use it to your benefit of your music. Because I do think when you sing in Shona, instantly all the Zimbabweans are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because we love to be seen as a person. Yeah,
you should always speak the language of the country that you grew up in, you know. And I do think as well, coming into the scene through Zim dancehall, which is such a massive and important genre for our country, you know, it's not just music, it's social commentary and it's what's happening, you know. To be privileged enough to be accepted in that space as a white woman is something that I'm so grateful for, because I think, you know, it's added so much to my journey and my growth, because I owe my whole career to Zim dancehall and to Black music culture and to Zimbabwean music. I just think it's something I'm very grateful for. It's something that I've become very aware of as where I fit into that space, and also like you mentioned, you know, the privilege that comes with being a white woman. But I just think Zimbabweans are so graceful and so open to allowing, you know, someone who grew up in the city but doesn't look the same to be allowed into that space and to be celebrated in that space.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. And I think, Gemma, anyone who's kind of watched a bit of your journey has seen how much you truly integrate. You are on the ground and you are connecting with people, and it's not talk, it's who you are and how you live. You know, I think you live more authentically than some Black Zimbabweans do in terms of actually being in touch with the Zimbabwean culture. So how would you approach someone who questions like you singing in Shona and claiming Harare? Because, you know, we see it as a beautiful thing. How would you speak to someone who, you know, because I think you have a really powerful story and your documentary about the making of your album really showcases that. But what do you say to people who may question you singing in Shona or claiming Harare as your own?
I guess I would hope that they would have time to hear a bit of my story. You know, I grew up in that city. You know, I grew up and I was hanging out in these spaces where Zim dancehall was everything. And just because I'm white, I would hope I would not be expected to listen to pop music and listen to Western music. You know, I grew up going to Oliver Mtukudzi shows and listening to Thomas Mafumo. And I, albeit white, completely identify as Zimbabwean before anywhere else. There's nowhere else I grew up, you know. I think there's something so special about the place you take your first steps and the place you go to junior school and the place you kiss your first boy. And I guess I would hope that they would be able to see that, you know, I came up, this was all through a love of dancehall, you know, and through a love of the music that I would hear on the radio in my home city as a teenager. And, you know, I do also understand that for some people that might not be the case. I'm not for everyone. I get that as well, you know. I think there's been a lot of issues racially that are still so far from being sorted out, not just in Zimbabwe, but across the world. And so I think one thing that I really hope not to happen is for anyone to ever be triggered or hurt by what I do. They don't have to love it, but I've always done what authentically I felt like I wanted to do on a musical space growing up at home. And hopefully it'll do good and people will see the beauty in the fact that I love my home. And that's all I guess I can ask for.
If anyone knows you, they will know how hard you work. I think we have to tip our hats off to you for how much you work, respect you for your work ethic, and being honest, just as you have been here with us and sharing that with us. So yeah, I appreciate that.
And I think one thing as well is that Zimbabwe is a nuanced space. And I think people just think, oh, you have to look a certain way or be a certain way. But I think with the rise of TikTok, we've been seeing so many like people who are half Zimbabwean, half something, full Zimbabwean, but they live somewhere else. And I think it's such a beautiful way to celebrate us, that we don't just come cookie cutter. We don't just come as one, as most people would assume. So I love having you in these spaces as well, because you just give more to our story, more nuance to our stories as Zimbabweans. So definitely you're coming across authentic, so don't worry on that.
I also think, there's something that human nature has, this amazing thing where number one, we first look at our differences, even though we're so much more similar than we are different. And then number two, we look at our differences as a problem, whereas I see them very much as a beauty. We are so similar. We all have gone through heartbreak and pain and love and excitement and food and all these beautiful things, and that makes us more innately similar. And then if there are differences, isn't that the best part? Otherwise, wouldn't life be a little bit boring?
Yeah. And I think that's where music plugs in so perfectly, because it's like you could be coming from all over the world and you can just hear a song and everyone is united, loving that song or hating that song. So yeah, it's quite beautiful. I mean, how did you feel when you first heard your song on Spotify? Because I remember when we heard it, how we felt.
Yep.
But I just want to know how you would have felt. Like, I mean, I'm sure they give you a notification that your song was going to be included on their playlists. How did that feel?
Yeah, it's a really exciting thing. I think I have this bad habit that I've been trying to get out of, where I'm constantly looking at what I still have to do. And sometimes it's really nice to stop and be like, oh, but look what's happened. Like, let's take a moment to look at how far, because where I am right now is somewhere that a few years ago I talked about being. I talked about doing these things and I've done them now. And instead of constantly being like, oh, I still have to do this, sometimes it's nice to just be like, to celebrate the little victories, the little wins.
Yeah. Especially coming from Harare, I think that would be just such a pivotal moment in your career, to be like, your audience has definitely now grown beyond Zimbabwe, which is something that's quite important, obviously, as a musician.
Absolutely. And I think it's so great, especially with us living in the diaspora, to be able to connect with home. Things like Spotify have been so crucial to maintain that contact for us in terms of the music scene, and seeing our artists and being celebrated. And we're seeing eyes on Africa as a whole, which is a beautiful thing, long, long overdue. Can I just
I was going to say, the world is finally stepping up to the biggest treasure.
We've been waiting.
Bruh, welcome,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, with your love for traveling, how's it been touring with your music, and seeing Zimbabwean fans in the diaspora? I know you were recently in Australia and Dubai, and you're always on the move, like Zimfest in the UK, like you're always on the move. What is that like for you? And what's that been like traveling around?
Yeah, this year especially has been crazy. I think with COVID having completely sort of opened up again, and the world's coming sort of back to normal, touch wood. It's been amazing. It's been such a cool side of the job, I guess. But yeah, I've been all over. We started the year out with my A Girl From Harare tour across Zimbabwe, which was 11 shows that I completely planned and organized. I wanted to be very hands-on with it, and I learned so much. But we had a pink bus, tons of cool artists from the cities that we were playing in, but also from Harare, and that was amazing. And just traveling across the country was really cool. And then Australia was amazing. Holy moly, Australian Zimbabweans are the funnest people. I'm sure you can. And Melbourne was great. But yeah, it was honestly so much fun. And I think that's one thing that I love about Zim is, over the years people have left, but they've never left home in their hearts. Like you can see that completely. Like we really do, no matter where we are. Which is also testament to A Girl From Harare, is that Zim is still such a strong pull. And so Zimbabweans abroad, you know, really listen to the music and they keep up with Zim culture and they're so proud of it. And you can really go anywhere in the world and you meet a Zimbabwean and you're best friends and you'll look after each other and you got each other, you know, in so many ways. And so to see that, especially Australia, where people are really far away, you know, it's very far from home. When home comes to you, you're like, woohoo! And I really felt that, you know, it was amazing. And I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Oh,
yeah, I was so sad I missed your show though, because I just given birth about 3 weeks before, and I was like debating, like, do I go? Do I? But I think that's a good excuse, and I just put that there. I think that's a good enough excuse.
I'd say that's fair.
But one thing I loved is seeing you touring with the veteran Alec Macheso. How did that feel? Also learning from someone who's been in the game and been doing this.
That was ridiculous. That was probably one of the highlights of my career, definitely one of the highlights of my career to date. Honestly, Alec Macheso is a complete living legend. And yeah, I got to watch him perform for like 3 hours every single night and speak to him about live music and touring and his journey. And I learned so much. He's such a humble and wise musician. Yeah, honestly, a dream come true. And Baba Shero feels like my father in music now. He really does.
That's so mad. Like, that is so amazing. And I love how you, again, even, you know, with your documentary, how you traveled across Africa, creating your body of work. It's mad respect. Like, not many people can do that, up and leave and just drive around and be like, I'm going to go and explore and, you know, touch people. So I think that's a beauty of what you do and how you do it, and also your live music, which, you know, will go on to the latest project that you've just released. Amanda, I'll hand over to you. I don't want to say too much.
It's okay. I mean, obviously, we're going to ask you any projects that you want to share with us, because we're absolutely in love with your live version of your album, filmed at the National Gallery. Fun fact, one of your backup vocalists, Tino Samuriwo, is my cousin. So we had been celebrating him, and then obviously celebrating you. This just feels like kismet for me. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing how you shot that, how you did that. And you know, something about Zimbabwean music, the quality now is just unparalleled. And then seeing you do that is like, I get goosebumps just thinking about how beautiful you curated that whole thing. And like, people, our listeners obviously will share all of this on our social platforms, but definitely people haven't seen this, they need to
check it out. Also, the way your music transformed from the album to the live, like City, because I was like, City, like I loved it. I was on a road trip and I was listening to your album, and then hearing the live version, it's like you made a second album. It feels that way because it's a completely there's a shift, right, from the studio version to the live. And I think you really have a great talent to be able to transform from a product in terms of the album that we can stream to this live performance, and that is a talent in itself. So how was that process in the National Gallery? Like, that's freaking amazing.
Honestly, that project was something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, you know, to take an entire album and then perform it live in a beautiful setting. Because I think it's also something that we don't do as much in Zimbabwe. You know, often when visuals are there, it's often quite, you know, you don't really get to connect with the artist. You get a story and you get a music video, but you don't often get a very vulnerable sort of real life sort of connection. And for me, I'm a recording artist, but before anything else, I've always been a live artist. I've always been a performer. I started out playing shitty bar gigs for no money, 5 nights a week, and work my way up. And so for me, I'm a live artist who records. And that's something that I really wanted to do. Because when I play with my band and we jam, and you get this amazing energy and this chemistry, I wanted people to be able to see that. And so me and my band, we sat down and we rehearsed and worked ideas and sort of rearranged this album and reimagined it into those performances. And then I phoned up the National Gallery. It's one of my favorite buildings in the country.
Beautiful.
It is iconic. It is so beautiful. Once you see the visuals, I mean, you guys have, but when people see these visuals, you're like, holy moly, where is this? And you're like, it's in downtown Harare. And so, you know, tying that all together, and then we actually went to Mbare, and you know, we did some bend over bundle digging and got all the outfits for everybody, and then I had my House of Stone outfit that Danai had gifted me, and so we tied it all together and just made this like delicious creamy brown
it
wine.
was amazing,
and it's delicious. I
the
will
tonal
tell you that.
it is delicious.
I was like,
so pretty. So I'm releasing the full live album is going to be going live in December, and every couple of weeks I'm dropping 3 videos from the 9 tracks so that people get a little bite, and then eventually you'll have this playlist that you can listen to the entire album. You can put it on your TV when you're having a dinner party, and it's just beautiful, visual after visual after visual, with like lovely nuances. There's like some jazz guitar solos and some crazy cool things, but yeah, I wanted to make something that was also mature, you know, that was like very wholesome and sort of an all age thing. You know, it still could very much be played in a family setting, but also I wanted something that musicians, you know, crazy talented musicians would like notice things and be like, whoa, you know, to sort of be taken seriously in that space as well.
Oh, it's so delicious.
That we're speechless.
No, it's delicious. Honestly, like the detail, the thought process, what you put into it, it's really inevitable. For those listening, if you haven't seen it, please go onto YouTube. We'll, as Amanda said, put all the links on there, but it's so much respect for you, Gemma, for doing this kind of work. I think we underestimate our abilities as Zimbabweans sometimes, and we, you know, shortchange ourselves thinking that if you're not a big player, you cannot do. But honestly, I say keep an eye out for Zimbabweans, because if there's one thing, our work ethic, the talent, the ability, and you showcase that so beautifully, so beautifully. And we're so grateful for you being on here. Is there anything else you want to share with us? Anything upcoming? You mentioned something you can't talk about yet, so that's fine. We'll respect you.
We'll keep watching to see what it was.
We'll hear what it is. But if there's anything else you want to share or with our listeners, please let us know. And your socials, how they can keep up with you as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, to be honest, this year has just been, it's been the year of A Girl From Harare, and I'm so grateful to have played the shows I've played and to now be releasing this live album. And yeah, I think, to be honest, next year is just, I've got the music already for next year. We've worked on it. It's in the final stages. You know, I work quite far in advance, so I've got it and I'm listening to it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, people are gonna freak out. I just want to keep creating stuff that can be taken very, very seriously on an international level. You know, everything from the visual, the quality of everything. I just want to keep that as high as possible. And I'm really looking at next year like, oh my gosh, this is just gonna be another boom of beauty and stuff that I'm proud of, you know. So that's very exciting. I'm definitely going to be traveling more and seeing everybody, but yeah, just keep your ears and eyes peeled for some good stuff next year. No, yeah, and then you can find me on everything. I'm Gemma with the G. Gemma Music. Well, yeah, that's basically it.
Now, we'll definitely share your socials as well, so people will find you, Gemma with a G. You know,
Gemma,
one thing I'm gonna
Gemma. Oh,
okay, that's me.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I was gonna say, and I really loved how you have kept everything within Zimbabwe, is in terms of the last visuals you did do. You didn't think to go internationally, not to knock that, but just to say, like, a lot of times people think we're not, like Rimbi said, we don't have enough within our own spaces. So to hear you even thinking of going to get my bero and look for clothes, it's like, that is so authentically Zimbabwean.
That is so Zimbabwean. Like, if you haven't done that,
if you have not gone to shop for clothes, Kumabero, what are you doing? Like,
that's a real thrifting.
That's what you're doing.
That's the real thrifting. That's where it started.
You are
that's
missing
real.
Yeah.
I promise you, can I be honest? Most of the outfits that I wear on the red carpet are from Mabero.
Oh,
Literally.
snap.
All my crazy dresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Mbare. I just go to Mbare, I do
Love
Mafero.
that.
There are gems.
Yeah, there's really
There are gems in the Mafero.
gems. And then not wearing something that anyone else is wearing, you know?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
that
But-
part.
Yeah, and I do think like visually as well, I think rather bringing everything into Zim, because we have so many beautiful, incredible spaces. So rather than going outside to do these big projects and to film these things, rather bringing the world in, but keeping that quality, you know, making sure everything can compete with your big stars, you know. And that's also why I don't see competition within Zimbabwe with my fellow artists. I've never had a situation where I felt like, oh, I'm competing with someone. Never. I always think it's us as Zimbabweans trying to compete on an international scale. And that is something that I do think we need to keep thinking, you know, like how can we do, because as soon as we all do it, as soon as someone breaks into that space bigger and bigger, everyone's going to look at what's happening in Zim. So we're
what
actually
else
on
is
the
there?
same
Yeah.
team. And that team is Zimbabwe, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that you speak our language, because that's exactly Rimbi and I's ethos. We always there's no need to competition. It's actually like we're much stronger together.
Much
so
stronger.
love this. Love this.
Wonderful. Oh, this has been such a joy fest as always. I mean, what you exude is so true and so pure, like who you are. If you see her on social, this is who you are. And it's so great to have that. I've been cheesing the whole time. So thank you, Gemma, for the great vibes. As always.
This has been fun. We should do this every week.
Yeah, exactly. Girl chat.
Well, when you have your next project, then hey, come back.
Yeah, we can do it again. Thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in. As mentioned, we'll be sharing all of Gemma's information in the show notes when we put it up. Thank you always for being with us. Season 4, we're still doing this. You can find us. It's Layered. It's on Instagram. It's Layered Pod on Twitter. We're also on TikTok now, apparently. So find us there. Thank you again, Gemma, for your time, and we'll see you at our next episode. Bye, guys.
They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, yeah,